Hello and welcome back to Bespoke Unit. This video marks a special occasion. It is our very first cigar review and we shall be evaluating for it Gurkha Typhoon. We've been holding back on reviewing cigars for a while now at Bespoke Unit, but now that our cigar series is up, which you can find at bespokeunit/cigars, we thought it was time that we got started. And what better to start with than the Gurkha Typhoon? We were struggling to choose which one to start with, and Paul Anthony, Bespoke Unit founder, actually gave me one of these, and I enjoyed it so much that he said, well, perfect, it can be your first review, video and written review as well. So we haven't yet developed a formula as we have done with fragrances, the Bespoke Unit fragrance formula and the Bespoke Unit champagne sheet, but we're currently working on something very similar, and so I'm going to try and follow a clear structure of what we have in mind to trial it. So before we cut the cigar, let's take a look at what this is. So we're looking at a Gordito 4-inch or 10 centimeter long cigar, which is quite reminiscent of a nub. Now anyone who knows me knows that I absolutely love nub cigars. So when I tried this, I was absolutely delighted. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, moving on, the gauge is 60. Which makes it quite a short and fat one. So the wrapper is a Connecticut wrapper with a Dominican filler and binder. It's handmade with long filler leaf, and we can expect something like a mild to medium body. In terms of appearance, we're looking at something with a mid-brown hue with a very consistent colour. There are no stains, no blemishes, nothing that I can make out. The sheen reflects very nicely against the light with a very slight oiliness to it. In terms of the rolling quality, we're looking at something here that is very consistent. I'm not finding any soft spots in pinching, and it seems to be quite tightly rolled, but not overly so. In terms of aromas being smelt, we're looking at, I'd say, ammonia, obviously, dark chocolate and straw. Very tantalizing. I'm really enjoying the chocolate in there. So let's cut the cigar before a dry draw. So I'm the kind of person that likes to slightly humidify the cap of their cigar. Firstly, I get to taste a couple of initial notes, which I'll tell you about in a sec. And I also prefer to just humidify it slightly, although they've been kept in great conditions. My humidor is currently reading at 70 on the dot, but I just like to, as a precautionary measure. So let's cut before the filler ends, before the flag leaf. There we go. So I'm going to give this a quick dry draw because I like to get the first notes before actually lighting. So I'm getting notes here of straw, dark chocolate, and dried leaves, sort of autumn leaves. Very, very pleasant. I'm really looking forward to lighting this. So if you head to Bespoke Unit /cigars, you'll see a number of guides, including how to light a cigar. So I'm not going to bore you too much here, but sorry, I've been having a bit of trouble with this lighter recently. But we want to just toast the foot first. Which means we just want to just touch the wrapper and to get the top toasted. So that's nice, black and consistent. Gonna blow on it a little bit. Just try and get those little black spots to make sure we have a nice consistent burn. Seem to have a bit of a stubborn end here, so there we go. So we're going to look at the toasting, tasting, the burn, and we're going to look at tasting this in thirds. So there'll be a couple of cuts through the video just so I can give you a full account without you having to sit and watch me smoke this. Being a Gordito, I'd expect this is going to last about half an hour to 40 minutes. I like saving my cigars, but then again, too much of a good thing, isn't it? So let's give this a try. So I gave it a slight retro hail, which is where you let some of the smoke, you don't inhale, but you just let it pass up your sinuses and out your nose, which means you can kind of bridges the divide between tasting and smelling something. It's this interesting experience. So I'm still trying to get, we're still quite early on in the cigar, so I'm just trying to get an overall idea of what this cigar is like. So I mentioned dark chocolate earlier, and I'm getting distinctive gourmand notes, which is reminiscent of chocolate. So I'm just finding a pen so I can take notes of these. I'm getting dark chocolate in here, and a little bit of it's quite gourmand. It's surprisingly round and mellow and very tasteful. So here we're looking at something that is quite, dark chocolate, oaky flavors. This is actually a lot, this is mild, but it's a lot more full-bodied than I expected as well. In terms of intensity, in terms of palate, this is actually quite intense. As you can see, we're starting to work our way down this, and I'm starting to get some vivid notes. So I mentioned some chocolate earlier, so we've got chocolate, straw, hazelnuts. It started off, when I first lit it, it started off as quite intense and has actually become a much milder cigar now, with a broad spectrum of pleasant flavors. I'm going to just carefully take off this top wrapper as it's very close to the top, which is a little bit awkward having two wrappers, I admit. There we go. Careful not to damage that wrapper, and it seems to be, there we go. For 1 minute I was concerned because there was a little bit of glue on the wrapper and I thought it was going to unravel. So far it seems to be burning relatively evenly. I've had one of these before and it burned very evenly all the way down. In terms of ash consistency, it was because it's quite tightly packed, but without affecting the draw. The draw is perfect. I managed to, because I like doing that, I managed to get quite a stack on it and was burning my fingers before I had to actually abandon it because I had finished the cigar. So this is just like a nub in a way. It's quite good for stacking and enjoying a large ash on your cigar to keep that temperature nice and controlled. It burns quite evenly. Here I've been waving it around because I've been talking, but I find that it burns quite well. In terms of the draw, now it's not too easy, it's not too tight either. It's just that perfect sweet spot to to be able to have a cigar that you can enjoy and not burn too hot or too cool. The texture of this cigar is very smooth, very smooth. In terms of intensity, it's very mild, it's very enjoyable, but we still have this plethora of notes. So currently I'm getting sort of dark chocolate and oak. With some aromatic notes of, I'd say basil as well, actually. That's very interesting. And it's a very smooth experience overall. So as you can see, I'm enjoying this cigar with a glass of champagne. In fact, it's a Veuve Clicquot yellow label, which we reviewed in a previous video, which you can watch as it's been suggested right here, which pairs quite nicely. So this champagne is quite creamy, got grapefruit notes, you've got some nuts as well, dried nuts, dried fruit. And some toast, which goes very nicely with this. Now, not all champagne can pair with cigars. In fact, you need to have a little bit of character in your champagne for it to work well. But I find that this is a very pleasant combination. So as you can see, the cigar has burned down some since we last saw each other. I'm really enjoying it. It's a very pleasant, very mild smoke. It's very aromatic. So as I mentioned earlier, I was getting some basil, some oak, some dark chocolate at the beginning, and as I'm starting to approach the second third, I'm just under halfway through now, I'm starting to get some more nutty flavours, some hazelnut and a little bit of mint, which for now is actually quite subtle. I still have an ash on the end. I haven't ashed it since I started. I'm actually going to see how much I can ash, just to test the consistency and the strength of the roll and the filler. But this is a very enjoyable smoke. Retrohaling, I'm getting some more of these minty notes, a little bit of hay, fresh hay, and I'm going to just give it another go, see what else I pick up. So yeah, there's something in there that I just can't put my finger on, but I've been getting it since earlier. It's, like I said, it's very aromatic, very warm. I wouldn't say it's something like paprika or cinnamon, but it is very refreshing, actually. So the burn is relatively even. We haven't had a runner, but it's slightly going down here. I'm just going to rotate the cigar, see if I can get that to even up. The draw is still perfect in terms of temperature. Now we're burning down towards the end. It's warming up, but it's still relatively cool, depending on how many draws you take per minute. It's recommended that you take no more than 2 draws a minute, so every 30 seconds to every minute. But for the purposes of this review, I'm going to do slightly more, so I'm not going to be taking too long at this. But I'm still going to enjoy the cigar. Almost vanilla. Sounds crazy, but yeah, that's something along those lines. On that retrohale there, I got something that was quite gourmand, very pleasant. Very warm, toasted. It's not an intense cigar. It's not full-bodied. It's not something that is akin to a tarry burning cauldron or a log oak fire that's burning away and giving you this thick, almost meal-like draw. But it does give a thick draw, but it's still quite mild, quite silky, very smooth. Almost pine. You know, there's this woody texture in it. There was oak at first, but now it seems to be transitioning to a wood that is lighter, that is cedar almost. Now, of course, it has been stored in cedar, it has been conditioned in cedar. I lit it with a butane lighter. I didn't use a cedar spill, but I'm still getting these hints of an aromatic woody texture. So unfortunately, I had a bit of an accident between the last take. The doorbell rang, which made me jump, and it caused me to de-stack, fortunately in the ashtray, and unfortunately I lost the ash on this. Nevertheless, it isn't burning hot. It's been able to maintain its temperature very well, and it is still a very refreshing and pleasant cigar. So to recapitulate, in the first third we've got these opening notes of dark chocolate and oak, which quickly subsided into something a little bit more aromatic, which were hazelnut and basil, and very, very light and mild. As we got into the second third, we experienced sort of hay, mint and cedar, aromatic woody flavours including pine, which sort of distanced themselves from the opening oak notes. As I get to the final third, I'm going to give it a quick try and tell you what I'm getting. Now what's amazing is that, as you'd expect from a cigar that's getting towards the nub, I expect it to be quite tarry, quite nicotine, very intense, sometimes quite coarse. But this isn't at all the case here. In fact, it's still very refreshing and very, very mild, very smooth. I'm having something here which is very minty, so the mint has returned. It's slightly more intense, more peppermint, with more aromatic notes including coriander. So it seems to have built up in intensity, but on the aromatic side rather than strength, for want of a better word. So we've been talking about the first, second and the third, and as you can see, this cigar actually hasn't burned down at all. That's because I'm going to talk about the band and the appearance and the general experience of this cigar before taking it off. So as you can see, it's very wide band, a very long band, which means I'm not going to be able to smoke much before having to take it off. People say you smoke a cigar down to the band. Well, you wouldn't get much out of this if you did that, if you respected that etiquette. I really like the Gurkha logo. In fact, I'm quite fond of Gurkha. The band is very stylish, silver and blue. We have two separate bands actually. We have one band that dedicates itself to saying Typhoon, which is the name of the label, and we have another one with the classic Gurkha label and Gurkha on it. It's quite a large band, it's quite a modern design with sort of reflective material, and we have these sort of medallions here on the back with crossed Gurkha swords, crossed sabres. In terms of the box design, well, this actually doesn't come in a box, or at least I haven't seen it available in a box. I've seen it much like Nub. They sell it in wrapped cellophane. You can get this in bundles of 12, or you can get this in bundles of 5. So this moves on to the occasion. This is, I'd say, quite more of a casual smoke, being a Gordito, being this kind of nub style cigar. It's quite short, it's quite an easygoing smoke, laid back. If you don't have time to enjoy a full-size cigar, this is a perfect choice. For the time of day, taking into account its size, its build and its flavour profile, I'd say this is a cigar that would be great for sort of mid-afternoon, after lunch, lunch break smoke, something which you can smoke carefree and enjoy, but without feeling pressed for time because it's so small. With regards to value for money, this normally retails at around $5, which I think is certainly worth it just for a single, but you can also get bundles which would make it closer to around $4.16, $4.25 if you get a pack of 12 or a 5-stick sampler. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this and use these notes to write up an article which you'll find in the link below for a full review of my entire experience. you'll be able to also check the link below to see all our guides on cigars, so smoking, lighting and cutting, as well as a couple of brands that we cover in detail. My name is Charles-Philippe. That's all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please smash those like and subscribe buttons and give us a comment if you've already smoked this or if you have smoked anything similar. Any thoughts or any questions, feel free to let us know. We look forward to hearing from you. Otherwise, check the description. You'll see our Facebook, Instagram and Twitter profiles. Give us a follow on those to see more updates in the future. And of course, head to bespokeunit.com to see everything else we cover. Till the next time, take care.